Harley Quinn was back this week on the DC Universe app with their 6th episode entitled You're a Damn Good Cop, Jim Gordon. I'm Gabe Joel, and this is the video series where I give my thoughts and feelings on the episode that was, as well as shouting out any Easter eggs or comic references I can find. Now, picking up from where the last episode left off, Harley and her crew are getting comfortable in their brand new shopping mall lair. Their heists are also picking up too, Harley having just stolen King Tut's sarcophagus. This really could have been any famous pharaoh, but I bet you they chose King Tut because King Tut is also the name of a little-known Batman villain created for the Adam West Batman show and eventually adapted into the comics and other cartoons. Harley thinks that this latest caper will finally be enough to get her noticed by the Legion of Doom and invited to join their ranks. Once again, nothing ever comes easy for her though, as it looks like the Legion will instead be asking KG Beast to join instead, and I mean, hey, can you blame them? Evil Russians are totally back in vogue these days. Poison Ivy, always the good friend and possibly more, doesn't want Harley to do anything too reckless, especially if it's only to get the respect of some of the worst people in the world who make up the Legion, so she can in turn only throw it in the face of her ex. But despite how far she's come, Harley is still working through a ton of issues and still has a lot of problems listening. Harley's comeback plan involves robbing Wayne Industries of their brand new invisible motorcycle, a heist that would have been pulled off without a hitch were it not for Harley getting distracted and abandoning a perfectly good score along with Dr. Psycho to try and steal something she thinks might even be more valuable, and something that we find out later is actually connected to Batman. All these rash decisions and destructive choices come home to roost in a very funny way when Harley's crew ends up receiving a scathing review from an internet personality called the Cowled Critic. Oh my Trigon, a superhero-obsessed internet personality with a C in their moniker. Is this what it feels like to be seen, everybody? The critic really lets Harley and company have it for leaving behind a piece of Clayface that ends up getting taken in by the cops as evidence. This actually ends up forming the hard-working B-plot, seeing as the hand is given over to Jim Gordon, who, as we've seen since the very first episode, isn't exactly doing so great in this show, but is doing much worse now that his marriage has hit the rocks and Batman has taken away his bat signal privileges. In fact, he's such a funny sad sack for this episode, I'm almost certain the title, You're a Damn Fine Cop, Jim Gordon, has to be a reference to You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, yet another story about a sad sack played for laughs. Gordon and the Hand, here voiced by the great Tom Kenny of SpongeBob fame, end up forming a fast friendship. Jim just wants to talk to someone, anybody, and the Hand, being very childlike, just wants approval. Also, credit where credit is due for the writers of this episode actually showing a fair amount of restraint in writing a Jim Gordon who talks about his sexual frustration but does not end up fucking the sentient Hand. In fact, there's not even one masturbation or hand job joke in the entire episode, proof that you don't always have to take the low-hanging fruit. Now, where was I before I got off track? Oh yeah, seeking approval. That actually becomes a major theme of the episode as Dr. Psycho and Poison Ivy, the two members of Harley's crew who have the hardest time seeing eye to eye, break off from the others to try and get this online critic to retract their statement. At first, Psycho thinks that it's his ex-wife to blame, given that the critic really zeroed in on him. But wait, what a twist. It wasn't his wife, it wasn't even her new lover, Brad, it was actually Psycho's own son. Points for setting up this kid in a previous episode, then having him return here and now in a new role. I like this weird, twisted relationship Psycho has with his chubby goth son, who he hopes that one day will be a great villain himself. I hope we get to see this kid come back and his relationship with his father continue to evolve. It's all good comedy material. Now, when Harley and Clayface try and steal back the Hand before it can assumedly lead the cops to their lair, Gordon doesn't want to let his new friend go, and he's willing to shoot Harley over it. Luckily, that remote she stole earlier in the episode just so happens to be a prototype teleporter for the Batcave. You know, it hits me only now as I record this video. If Harley was a little bit more big picture oriented, she probably would have been able to put two and two together that Bruce and Batman were the same person. But as the show has already set up numerous times before, Harley's got a bad case of tunnel vision. Now, in a bit of sympathizing humanity, Harley actually sees that Jim is really in pain. He's gone off the deep end after being shunned by Batman, and you don't need to be a psychiatrist to see how dangerous that is. Batman swears that he and Gordon aren't really friends, just co-workers, but maybe the problem is Batman is just bad at dealing with adult friendships. And wouldn't you just know it, in trying to help Batman and Gordon patch up their relationship, she realizes that she has all the same problems. Her crew are her friends, and she's been treating them so very badly this whole time. In fact, hey, if we want to dig a little deeper, she's been treating them more or less like how the Joker treated her back in the very first episode, leaving her behind to be arrested. Also, hey, Harley being able to use her background as a psychiatrist to help other people work through their problems only to end up being the doctor that heals themselves. And so yeah, after that the day is pretty much saved. Clayface rejoins his hand, Harley learns an important lesson, Psycho's son recants on his previous review, and everything concludes with a nice little bow on it. And so, you know what, after a much more character-focused episode last week, You're a Damn Fine Cop Jim Gordon settles back into a more familiar, regular Harley Quinn shenanigan type of episode. It's always nice to see Christopher Maloney get to flex his comedy muscles as a very different take on Jim Gordon, and the show continues to offer up both laughs and a surprising amount of character development for Harley herself, all in the very same episode. So, yep, that'll pretty much do it for me, everyone. I've been Cape Joel, I hope you liked the video, and I will see you all again next time. Bye-bye.